In 1921, Vladimir Lenin authorized the creation of a laboratory, not for medicine, not for agriculture, but for poison. It began as something called the Special Office, then later Lab Number 1, then Lab X, then Lab 12, and then what it's mostly known for, the Kamera, or the chamber. Different names, all serving the same purposes. To engineer death that left no trace. For more than 70 years, through the Cheka, the OGPU, the NKVD, the KGB, and the SVR, this laboratory survived revolutions, purges, and even outlasted the Soviet Union. It tested toxins on prisoners, heart attack-inducing chemicals, gas pistols that could supposedly shoot over 65 feet away, and refined poisons that even autopsies failed to detect. And the most unsettling part is that the lab may not actually be gone. How's it going, y'all? Today I wanted to do a walkthrough of how this lab evolved, who ran it, who was killed, who were the poisons tested on, and most importantly, why this legacy still matters. Because Kamera wasn't just a lab, it's a philosophy. We start in 1921. The Soviet Union was still consolidating power, and political opposition wasn't just inconvenient, it was existential. So from orders under Vladimir Lenin, the Chechia, or early Soviet secret police, established what is quietly referred to as the Special Office. Its head professor, Ignatiy Kazkov. Also, I'm very sorry. I'm going to butcher like half of the names in this. I'm sorry in advance, but let me know if I did okay. Very little documentation kind of survives from this area, but its purpose was clear. Develop poisons for targeted eliminations. It was quiet, compartmentalized, and completely shielded from public oversight. By 1926, supervision shifted over to Yenrik Yagoda. He was deputy of the OGPU, which later became the NKVD. And this is where the laboratory moved from operational to experimental. February 20th, 1939. The lab was formally renamed Laboratory Number 1. Its new director, Grigory Miranovsky. And this is where things escalated even further. The lab was now under the supervision of Lavrenti Beria and Shevel Merkulov. Here, why don't we just... Vsevolod Merkulov. These were two of Stalin's most feared security chiefs. Between 1939 and 1953, Laboratory Number 1 became human testing grounds. Not hypothetical, not alleged, but documented. Miranovsky and his colleagues tested numerous poisons such as mustard gas, ricin, curare, digitoxins, cyanide, and experimental compounds such as C2 or K2. Their goal was specific. They wanted to create a poison that was odorless, tasteless, and left no trace. They wanted it to be fast-acting and predictable. The main victims were gulag prisoners, and if you don't know what a gulag is, play some Call of Duty. Or actually, just learn history rather than play Call of Duty. Don't play Call of Duty if you want to learn history. These prisoners were told that they would be given medication, but instead, they were administered toxins in either food or drinks. Miranovsky tested against all sorts of age groups, body types, races, genders, because this wasn't just cruelty for cruelty's sake, it was calibration. He was trying to dial something in. One compound, carbolamine choline chloride, or C2, reportedly caused rapid physical weakening, height shrinkage from muscular collapse, calm, subdued behaviors, and a death that would happen in 15 minutes. The victim would appear quiet, composed, almost natural during its decline, and that was the very objective. And this lab didn't just test, it supplied. Some prominent cases that are tied to poison operations are some people like Isaiah Goggins or Alexander Kudupov, Lester Nakoba, and Archbishop Theodore Ramza. In 1978, KGB General Oleg Kalugin admitted that Lab X supplied the poisons. Not every operation was carried out by Moscow. Sometimes allied nations would carry out these hits. But the chemistry, that came from the lab. Kamera wasn't just about toxins. It was about delivery. Some reported developments that they had are cyanide mists or gas pistols and poisons that mimicked heart attacks. This was assassination engineering, not improvisation. It's designed to leave no forensic trail, no suspicion, and no trace. March 14th, 1953. The lab was renamed again to Lab Number 12. Stalin was dead, Beria has been executed, Merkelov was executed, the immediate NKVD supervisor got a long-time prison sentence, Mirinovsky was arrested, but not for human experimentation, it was actually for political misconduct, but you get him, you get him. And the lab didn't just disappear from here, it kind of evolved. In 1978, it expanded into the Central Investigation Institute for Special Technology, operating under the first chief directorate of the KGB. Even in 1988, I believe Mikhail Gorbachev asked for a briefing on the lab, and the KGB refused. And that kind of really tells you something about the secrecy of the lab that they're not even going to tell Gorbachev. But after 1991 and the collapse of the Soviet Union, the SVR inherited parts of the program. Reports indicate that several laboratories still worked on biological agents, toxic substances, and psychotropic compounds. A former KGB colonel, Yuri Shvets, who later defected into the US, described visiting the lab in the 1980s. He picked up a substance called SP-117, a concentrated alcohol compound that's supposed to rapidly intoxicate someone when mixed with champagne. He noted, if this was -117, then there is 116 other formulas that had to exist. Kamera wasn't chaos, it's institutionalized patience. It represents something larger than assassinations. It represents how science becomes weaponized, ethics become procedural, and security becomes infrastructure. The lab survived Lenin, Stalin, Beria, and even the fall of the Soviet Union. Different regimes, same utility. And the scariest part is it wasn't a rogue program. It was authorized by the government. It was documented by the government. And it was funded by the government. And in some capacity, still disputed today. The Russian government claims that the lab was dismantled back in 2016, but very little transparency exists, which is fitting because Kamera was never really meant to be seen. Thank you all so much for watching this quick little video. It was just something fun that I've always liked. Let me know your thoughts. Yeah. Still learning outros, but yeah. Bye.